Hey everyone, I'm Constantine, Pringlesman123 on the Discord, here with Team MGLA once again, and today we got a deck profile for you, here with our very own Nathan Dewalt, who just got top 8 with his Life Taryon deck this past weekend. How you feeling, Nate?
I'm feeling good. How about yourself?
Oh yeah. I'm always having a good time, and especially when I'm talking to you about Universus, it's great. But just gonna dive into it, if you want to hear about this Taryon deck. So, going into this event, what made you want to play this guy?
So assets are my favorite types of cards in the game, and this guy gets to build them in for free and then give plus or minus speed. So, and I love blocking, so this is the perfect thing for me.
Mm-hmm. Those are all very Nathan things to do, so that makes sense. And then framing what exactly this deck was all about. What was your game plan for this list? How would you go about winning games?
Yeah, so the way I built the deck is to gain as much advantage by building up a stage of either assets or foundations in the combination between the two, and having big attacks that either give themselves damage or give themselves a lot of speed while having high damage base. Because Taryon doesn't inherently give damage, he just gives a lot of speed to his attacks. So against all of the DR decks right now in the format, having attacks that gives themselves damage was the idea, is to play around those.
Makes a lot of sense. All right. The floor is yours if you want to just dive in on card choices.
Sure. So we play Taryon, obviously. I'm not getting into him because this is an informative video about the deck itself, so you can look him up if you need to. So I played one Beast Titan attacks, because it gave itself throw by destroying an asset, and it picked up our range attacks, which we play quite a few of, and it was just a big attack that we got to play essentially for free because it didn't took a 3, and that was the reason behind it. It just picked up a range attack, and I was like, oh, it's a +1 hand size if it does the thing. Then we played 3 Bedazzled Helm Blast. It has his face on it, so it has to be good. And it gave, it gave itself a lot of speed already, plus Taryon's speed, which made it super fast and had powerful 5. So with a few of the other cards in the deck, getting free momentum was obviously just too good not to play this card. We played 4 High Velocity Slice. It has a deadlock that scales with us, our free momentum, plus it gives us a free momentum if we don't have other cards to get us free momentum in the turn. So obviously, once per turn, you just want to get a momentum no matter what, by playing this card or some of the cards in the deck. I played 2 Fajin Flurry, high damage, and got itself free momentum with by using EX or VME that you'll later see. Played 2 Scrap Cannon. This one was for the end of a chain or to selectively deal with the problem foundations that we didn't want to deal with. And it got really big very quickly because we got a lot of free S's with Taryon himself.
I'm glad I got to hear you say that about the top enhance on it. I was curious how often you would use the...
Every time I played this card, I flipped one of the damage reduction pieces or a speed reset or something that interacted with the attack. So it was perfect every single time. I played 4 Hunter's Ally, because a lot of the assets under the life symbol are allies, and they're free, just to build in for free, and that way we don't have to use the momentum enhance on Taryon, so we can build in our ally asset and then use the enhance on it immediately. Played 1 Ready Shot. I just like this one because I like being able to pick up 1 difficulty foundations or 1 difficulty assets. So it was using an extra copy of Taryon. I just like tutoring from my discard pile a lot, so that's why this card was here. We played 3 quick Canister Creation Strike. It helped me get a better foundation base because a lot of my foundations were flip costs, and then got a lot of damage because a lot of the assets under the life symbol are unique. So it was just +1 damage every single time, scaling upwards. So that was it for the attack. What's up?
I was going to ask, very often the canister creation would probably be 10 damage, right? Off 1 momentum?
Yeah, absolutely. 10 or 13 damage every single time I used it. Then we're going to get... Oh, go ahead.
So I just wanted to make sure. So before we move into the next, I'm just curious, what your turns typically would look like with this attack lineup? Like how many attacks would you throw in a turn?
Yeah, so usually I wanted to play one attack a turn. Unless I'm trying to kill them, I'm going to play more, of course. But like usually I was playing a high velocity slice into a Fajin flurry if I had it. If I had an asset that gave it speed, like Badgie, of course, gave it 3 speed, so it's like a 6 mid for 10. But I just wanted to get one momentum a turn. So like high velocity slice or Fajin flurry or a hunter's ally. Those are the 3 main good pokes in the deck because they all gained you something in some way. Or I guess Ready Shot as well, because they all 4 of these cards gained you something. They all gained you value. I did not like Beast Titan as much in the deck because it just felt like too high of a cost to be playing because we weren't building a whole lot of foundations. We were building more assets than anything. But it still wasn't bad. I just would probably replace it for something else. So I'd probably replace it for like another Ready Shot or Fajin Flurry. Personally, if I could go back and change my list a little bit.
That makes sense. And just to be clear, you really want these types of pokes because not only do they themselves give you value, but you get to use Taryons once per turn to build an asset for free, basically, right?
So it's essentially getting it's a 2-for-1 deal because you get to build an asset with Taryon and then gain something else by either getting a momentum, dealing damage is getting a momentum anyways, but like adding cards to your stage or adding cards to your hand that you will want for later turns.
And sort of building up your engine. Makes a lot of sense.
So that's it for the attack lineup, and then we're going to get into the assets now. I played one Fenthris. I like this one because a lot of our attacks are range and it's plus free 1 speed. So, and then if we had to play against a character that really liked the power and effect of their character, we'd just be like, our thing is really fast. You can either commit out and I'm going to hit you with the other ones, or you can let this one hit you and you have to minimum commit 2 foundations or 1 foundation to use your character for the rest of the turn. The response to make your opponent commit their character or check a 7 mattered so much throughout the event. It was crazy. I almost did every single game.
Could you speak to that more? Because I'm curious.
So I played against a Byaku and they weren't allowed to stack because my thing hit them and they checked a 3 and they're like, I can't commit my 3 foundations of my character. I played against like a Taryon and they would have to check a 7 and they don't want to do that because they need their foundations because Taryon inherently doesn't build a lot of foundations. So if you hit them with any of your attacks, they have to commit their character or commit some foundations, and it makes it easier to get those better kill turns in or better pokes in because you always have the threat of I'm going to commit your character on board.
Yeah, and it sounds like it mattered a lot against characters with enhances. It wasn't just an extra piece of stun. There was real abilities on the opponent's characters that you wanted to turn off.
Yeah.
Nice.
Next we played the plate. This card is bad. I would never play this card ever again. And if you plan on playing this deck, don't play this one. I put it in because I like the Breaker 2 and I couldn't die to the burn decks that were going around. But I would just replace it with literally any other asset under the life symbol. That's that's it. This card was bad the entire weekend.
It looks cool at least.
It looks neat. It does look neat. Then we played 3 vertical. This card's nuts. This card's just crazy because we get a bunch of free momentum and getting 3 speed on any move or -3 speed defensively and offensively is crazy. And I used the damage ability on this to give 2 damage to all my attacks, to one of my attacks, like so much throughout the weekend. It was crazy. It has hidden text that I forget about sometimes.
Yeah, every part of vertical maneuvering is very messed up. It's an incredibly good card for Taryon.
Played 4 Badgie. This card's free in him. It's got a 1 mid breaker black. It builds on defense and offense. Gives +3/+3 essentially on your turns if you want them, or +3 -3, and that's always very nice. And especially on the turns you went to go play Fajin, this card was crazy. Like it was nuts.
Yeah.
because you could just print a momentum and then cycle another momentum. So it's a 6 for 10.
Yeah, and then as you said, like the downside is not real in Taryon. You can just commit it on your turn or commit it on your opponent's attack that they buffed it for -3 speed that you know you're going to block.
Exactly. We played 1 item box. I would play 2 if I could go back. This card was crazy. I built this in every single time I could. Being able to reset your attacks or your opponent's attacks right now is really good, especially if you can't block them and they have high base damage. And like speed, because every deck right now is giving a lot of speed and damage. So in the mirror, this helped a lot, even.
Yeah, I mean, the name of the game with some of the types you have of Bedazzled Helm Blast and Scrap Cannon, item box can really help against that type of stuff.
Yeah. Dodie was the next one we played. It's a 2-diff in him because he's Taryon. But -4 speed early game or +4 speed makes it really hard for your opponent to block their attacks. It makes it really easy to block their attacks. But that's not the real reason I played this card. The real reason I played this card is because of the ready an asset, because later on you'll see we have a bunch of like commit costs that we really want to keep reusing. So like item box is one of them. And the damage reset was nice. It saved me a few games, but it wasn't as useful as the ready an asset, which we'll get later on to why a little bit. We played 1 Ceratos. I would probably play 2 for how useful this one was throughout the entire event, because +1 hand size and being able to scalp which one you want and stack your check is very, very good. Especially if you found it like early game. You almost didn't lose every single time. But if you found it later game, it was like hard to find where you wanted to put it in your turn. But early you could just play it on a 6 and then build out and be fine with it, or block with it even.
And a quick question with Sarah, the spaceship. You never built it in with Taryons once per turn, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Never should that happen. If that happens, something bad would happen. Something wrong wouldn't happen.
Yeah. So 5 momentum for it is not worth it.
Yeah. We played 1 Young Heroes. It has the ally keyword, so we can have our friends with us at all points in times. So when we played Hunter's Ally and then Blitz built this in, we got to target commit one of their assets or foundations immediately and take care of a threat that was on board. The damage the responsibility didn't really matter as much for this event as I thought it was going to be because of the decks I played against, but I can see where later on in the future it will be very useful. Then probably my favorite asset of the deck, Ein. I played 2 of it. So I use this card to draw a card on defense a lot, but I mainly use this card to kill people. And the way I did that is because I had a bunch of foundations, because my foundations have flip costs, and we could just make them discard a card. And so Hunter's Ally, I'm going to go back to it. Hunter's Ally builds an Ein, which is enhanced discard 1, and Dodie can ready Ein again, which is another discard 1, and then Taryn can build it back in, and which is another discard 1. So we can make them like, so some of the turns I was having was making them discard like 3 or 4 cards within a turn because I was just cycling them so much.
Yeah, and that'd be really helpful against any sort of action defense, right?
Yeah. So, like, a bunch of characters, not a bunch of characters, but, like, characters that were drawing cards on defense because they were just building out, like, to 1 or 2 cards. They would just not have a hand, and they would block my first attack, and it was like, well, you can't block my last 2 because you don't have a hand anymore. We played 1 Airy, another ally card. It helped ready any of the assets or foundations that I really wanted that didn't have unique. It was very good. I like the responsibility on this one. I mainly played it because it was an ally. We got to build it in for free. That was it. I played 1 Trinket. I played this in case I played against Pony. And I didn't play against a single Pony the entire weekend. Plus, it's an ally. We get to build it in for free. But that was the real reason I played this. To make sure, like, Pony was like, your attack is dealing 0 damage. Unless they had the foundation that gets +2 damage. it was 2 damage, so I got to ignore an attack essentially for -1 asset that I can build in for free. It was a pretty weak asset. I played 1 potato. It was for the jury decks against Item Box and the Mirror. I really like this one because we have a foundation that can destroy it after you use a response, and then Taryon, you can build it back in. So it's always nice. A good one of. And we played 4 gold tips. This is how we got our free momentum, because we played our 1 poke, and they would either block it or they wouldn't. And we get a momentum every single time, every single one of our turns. So our turn would hopefully just build on one of these off a Taryon or from your hand. Either way, it was really nice. So that's it for the assets. Like 22 of them, quite a lot. Then we're going to get into our foundation counts. We played 3 number 10 pro hero. This one's really good. It's got a 1 high block, checks a 6, 0 to magical text of nothing.
This is a very good one.
It is a very good
powerful.
one. I played 1 tarot reading. This card was not great. This card was kind of bad. I don't recommend playing this one on this guy. I just thought it was good the night before. I wouldn't play this one. I would rather play any other foundation in my deck that has a high block. Played 2 incredible display. Stop the reaction. Stop responses, which is always nice. Plus, a lot of the time we were blocking out with our foundations, so picking them up against zones that we want to continue blocking because we know what zones our attacks are playing. Our opponents are playing. It's always a good pick up multiple blocks in a turn because he doesn't draw a whole lot. And if you don't have Ein or 3 face downs, you just want to pick up your blocks just to chain block a little bit better.
Is there any responses that you kept canceling over the weekend?
No, not
Stuff
really.
that like kept coming up in the match?
Not really, no. I didn't.
Okay.
I think I canceled 1 response the entire weekend. I don't even remember what it was, so it wasn't too important, but it's always really
But the
good.
block. Yeah.
Plus, it blocks Besieged. It's got 3 mid block.
You gotta block the siege.
That's true. That one's dangerous. We played 3 Aaron sidestep. I was playing 4 when I was testing it, but I realized I wanted to cut some cards, so 3 was good enough, and we can change our zones with VME to pick it to make sure we are always drawing a card. And it gives minus speed, so like it's free, and it's another flip cost, so we can trigger our ones that we want our face down cards. We played 4 of the best foundation ever printed in all of Universus. Wild Pussycats helps us find our foundations, and it's an ally, so we get to build it in a Hunter's ally. It's free. It's another foundation. It's an extra copy of all of our foundations in our deck, essentially. That's it. This card's the best. Can't give it.
It's flip draw a card, right?
It's flip draw foundation card.
That's all you need for this guy.
It's true. We played 2 keeping Yuri safe for stun hate. Or commit hate even. I don't know. This card is really good. I played 1 surprising skill. I like this one at a 1 of. I probably would play more, maybe. Probably not. I just liked it. It was like another copy of keeping Yuri safe in quotations, but we got to deal with our opponent's board a little bit with it. Punish our opponent for that one. Played 3 Keiko's Aid. We're a chain blocking deck, and we want to punish like the aggro decks for like overextending. So I just wanted to play this one for chain blocking reasons to make their opponent's kill turns harder. It's a really good one. Played 3 Fast Friendship. I was playing 4, but then I cut 1 for the tarot reading, which I probably should have just kept the Fast Friendship because I like this one a lot. It helps us block early and block late even. It's just always good no matter what. Played 4 Desperate Plea. This says we can block with our assets and build them consistently from our hand, so we don't have to. So like with the spaceship or Young Heroes, we don't have to find the momentum or Hunter's ally. We can just block with them on defense and then build them back in immediately, or we can sometimes build our assets face down and attacks face down, and we could draw them later by playing Carnival Worker, which is the next one anyways, which says we can stack one of our foundations on top of our deck, and we can draw it off Ein or another draw effect that's in the deck. I never used the enhance to set the damage to 1 the entire weekend. I used it to stack my deck, because stacking the deck off of Desperate Plea or against the hacker decks is always really nice, because you can draw your assets back.
Did you ever have a situation where you could have Carnival Barkered if things went horribly wrong as a sort of?
Oh yeah, I always made sure I kept like an ally that I wanted to keep in hand with this. If the stars aligned, I always made sure I had it in hand.
So like one extra layer of defense on your turns.
Yeah. 1 practical studies for deadlock, and plus it makes our pokes a little bit faster if your opponent wants to block them, so they have to feel a little bit more uncomfortable with it. I like this one a lot. I've been playing it since I played Eraserhead back at Nationals in 2023. This one's always good. We played 1 Planning a Coup. I wanted a sack outlet, and this was the perfect one that I could think of. It gives -1 speed, but I really only played this because I wanted a foundation that says Enhanced Destroy Foundation.
And so why did you want that? Why did you want a sack outlet in this deck?
Because I wanted to either get out of deadlock for deadlock decks, or I wanted to, for against the hacker decks, I wanted to destroy my face down assets in case I couldn't stack them on top of my deck. I'd have them in my discard pile so I can always get them back.
That makes sense.
I played 2 high value target. I like this one because of the static, because early game we're not building a whole lot of foundations, so if we open this, it's like having 2 foundations on defense. I never used the response. I didn't play against Godzilla at all. But yeah, it was mainly for the static because, like I said, we're not playing a whole lot of foundation cards. And we played 1 Science Rose. Our character removes momentum, so we get to get 1/1. Let me go back through it. This card removes assets, so we can give it 1/1, or we can draw a card. This card removes a foundation, so we can give it 1/1 or draw a card. So we have a couple of cards that can trigger the responses. Plus, it's an ally, so we get to build it in for free. So that's the main board.
I didn't know Science Bros was an ally card. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a friend. We will always have more friends than our opponents.
Oh, one last thing before we move on the sideboard. I noticed how there was no Syndicate target in the deck. Was that a space issue, or?
I was playing it, and then I cut it for the other 0 diffs that were the stun hate cards, in case I played against like stun decks. So that was really it. Syndicate target and testing was fine, but we have VME, so like it didn't really matter.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that was my reasoning behind it. We played 1 item box because I wanted another reset in the sideboard. It's really good. Played 2 Tattered Costume to cancel actions like Jury. It was mainly for Jury because we had 1 potato in our deck. Played 2 Lost in Thought. What's up?
For Tattered Costume, what, aside from Jury, would you bring it in against any of the action decks? So
yes, I would. Any action deck, I'm siding this card. Because it's not a remove cost, it's a sacrifice cost, so we can constantly keep building it back in.
That is pretty crazy. What would you side out for Tattered Costume of your main deck?
I would side out Trinket and probably, let's go through, 1 copy of Badgie. Or no, I'd side this Blade, because this card's not good. So I would side these 2 cards out every time I want to go side in Tattered Costume.
That makes sense. Trinket also doesn't seem to be very good against the
action decks. No.
The action decks, yeah.
We played 2 Lost in Thought. In case we played against hacker decks, we can also pick up our foundations and bounce the problem foundations. I sided this in against Byaku. I didn't see it, but it would have been good against Byaku because we bounce the foundation that gives a bunch of speed, so it makes their attack unblockable almost.
I'm gonna start sounding like a broken record. What are some of the cards that you'd set out for Lost in Thought?
Yeah. Well, we can get to that. I would set out probably just like double Incredible Display or like a Tarot Reading and Incredible Display. Because usually the foundations that we're bouncing, like if we're bouncing any foundation, their deck isn't running a whole lot of responses that we need to cancel, unless I need to. Or like I would set out Trinket or another asset and go down to 21. The difference between 21 and 22 wasn't a whole lot when I was playing it.
Mm-hmm.
I played a 7th wielder in case I get play against Pony or Mirko too, because I've seen a lot of those decks in testing. So I was like, well, I have to have an answer for it. I didn't side it a single time this weekend, so it didn't matter. So cards I would side out for it, none of them, because I didn't side it.
So just a quick thing with this. So if you were to play it against Mirko or Pony, what is the game state where you get to use this card?
Like turn 2, right? Like is the like the hopeful of this, but we only played one, so like we would probably never draw it. I just wanted to have an option somewhere in my sideboard, even if it was a 1 of somewhere.
Mm-hmm. And what low attacks would you be blocking, particularly with it? Or
I would hopefully be using VME to make it a low and just block it. But mainly it was because we give so much minus speed, we could block like a Walk the Dog, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And they would try and kick their Walk the Dog, and you're like, I'll cancel it. I'm good.
Yeah, the VME play makes a lot of sense with it too. Very, very pivotal part of your Taryon deck.
Yeah, I played 1 Practical Studies in the sideboard for another Deadlock piece. And I would probably side out... Let's see here. I would have sided out probably a high value target for it. Just because I like having the Deadlock in the Deadlock matchups. So that card against Deadlock matchups really wouldn't matter at all, in my opinion.
You believe you're going to get there. You're going to get to huge stages. So what's a high value target at that point?
Exactly. Yeah. We decided 1 Waylay in case we played against a Mitch deck, because they're always wanting to keep their momentum, or we sided against Taryon, but nothing else. We just wanted these cards. I wanted this one for those decks and matchups in particular. Plus, our Beast Titan attacks went and picked it up if we transformed it and they didn't attack it, because it is a ranged attack.
Would you cut an attack 1-to-1 for it? Or
I would cut an attack 1-to-1 for it. Sure. And I would cut... when I sided this against the Mitchell deck I played against, I sided out Canister Creation Strike. I wanted the extra low block against those decks because they always have VME. And having the extra low isn't the worst. Then, for the coolest part of my sideboard, we sided wielding 1-for-all for the hacker decks. So we played 2 Vestiges that we could unflip. But mainly, form on flip an asset is always good, and it could never go wrong, especially on a remove cost of an action. And then we get to continue with our turn and see how we want to play it.
Did you ever get to use the enhance on it?
Oh, no, not a single time.
Okay.
The time I went to go side this card, well, I sided this twice. I sided this against the Byaku, I sided against the Taryon, and the Taryon didn't want to play game 2, so I didn't get to actually attempt to try and find this one.
Okay. And when siding it in, what would you end up cutting for it? Some of the assets or foundations?
I would side 1 asset depending on the matchup and 1 foundation.
Sure.
I could not tell you which ones I would cut in particular because it all depended on matchup.
Mm-hmm. And sort of vibe it out.
Yeah.
As you're playing. All right. We've gone through the whole deck. Do you have any shout outs you want to give, Nate?
Yeah, I want to shout out the MGLA, my team, my boys. Love those guys. They're always doing a great job in helping me test and be prepared for all these events.
Hell yeah. And that's Nathan Dewalt's top 8 Life Taryon deck profile from the Denver Regional this past weekend. If you're watching, make sure to like, comment your favorite thing about Taryon, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check out the MGLA website if you get a chance. These links are going to be in the description. We'll also have the deck, the UBS Ultra link in the description in case you want to see any more math about the deck or statistics or whatever, or just see the nice whole deck list in its glory. But with that, we're signing off. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.